I got out. uh, um, I don't know. I have, different. The what?
Guard tower. The one guard tower.
The what?
Where the guy picked you up over his head with the guard.
Oh. Okay.
Tell that whole thing.
Well, I'd say one of the more memorable, if not the most memorable, story was one of my best friends was he was drafted. However, he was also to be on the 1968 Olympic weightlifting team, and he was on the team, and like I did, he got his draft notice, and just because you were going to college or well, if you got lower grades, which is what I did, and he wasn't in college at the time, but he was on the 1968 Olympic weightlifting team, and that wasn't good enough to keep him out of Vietnam, so he got drafted like I did. And we were up on a guard tower one night, and because we had to do guard duty, and there was two of us, we were up about 20 feet in the air on this tower, and we made a bet with each other that we had to stay awake, and if we fell asleep, we could get in a lot of trouble. In fact, get possibly court-martialed. And we bet each other that we'd stay awake, and if one of us didn't, the other one had the right to throw the guy who went to sleep off the top of this guard tower, which was about 20 feet in the air, into the sand below. And so I was quite confident that that wasn't going to be me that would fall asleep. But I was wrong. I did, and I was, about halfway out when all of a sudden, much to my surprise, I'm about 6.5 feet in the air, which was now about 26 feet from the sand below this guard tower. And what had happened is my buddy came over, picked me up, lifted me over his head, just like I was a 10-pound bag of sand. That's how strong he was. And started to throw me off the top of the tower. And I didn't want to fall 26 feet. I figured that hurt pretty good. So I'm screaming like a baby to talk him out of throwing me off the top of that tower. And finally he relented and set me down. That would have been a rough landing had he not. So he had mercy on me and let me go. So it was one of my more memorable experiences.
Okay, we're going to shift gears. What was the saddest story you have about the war?
Well, there's a lot of those. Some of my friends got killed. They, just being there was, was fairly fearful all the time, because these mortar attacks would come without warning. And while we were reasonably safe where we were, their intent was to blow up the fuel depot where we kept all the fuel for the helicopters, or the ammunition dump, or if they could, blow up the helicopters. And it was very difficult to deal with the fear. And finally, in order for me to quote survive and at least have a halfway decent balance of the duty that I had there, I just made the decision one day. It just seemed to make sense that if I believed that I was going to get killed, it would help me deal with the fear. And so I just woke up one day and made the decision that I was going to get bumped off, uh, killed, shot, or otherwise blown up by a mortar. And when I did that, all the fear went away. I guess I accepted the possibility that I could be killed and made that a real possibility. Now, it's not that I did stupid things, tempting death, but once I accepted the fact that chances were at least 50-50 that I would get blown up by a mortar or something, I was okay with it. So, the fear subsided and eventually went away. And for about 6 months of my tour, I was fine with being there.
All right. Did you stay in contact with your company after the war, the First Air Cavalry Division?
Actually, I didn't. I wish I had. I've wanted to, and tried on a few occasions to get in touch with various guys because I'd like to see how they're doing. But for whatever reason, the Army blocks us from getting information on where these guys are, and I don't know what they think we're going to do with it. But I had, this one guy that I was talking about, his name was York, and he was from North Carolina, and I'd love to find out how he's doing, and several other guys that I was in there with. But every attempt that I've made a half a dozen attempts at finding these guys with or without the assistance of the Army. We get blocked from, they tell us that they can't give us that information because it's classified or something. I mean, I don't understand that, but that's what they tell us. So I've not been able to talk to any of my friends.
What did you do as a career after the war?
Well, I wanted to learn how to fly when I was in there, and I missed passing the qualification test by 8 points when I first went in, and then later they offered me the opportunity to go to flight school and learn how to fly, and I wondered, and I asked around behind the scenes as to why now, after I didn't pass the test, suddenly 3 months later I was smart enough to pass the test to fly. And I was quickly told that enough guys had gotten killed that they lowered the standard that they would now accept me. And so I decided that I didn't want to be one of those guys, at least going that way in a helicopter crash. As it turns out, it could have happened anyway. But so I passed on the opportunity to fly. Plus, you had to give 2 more years of service, which would have meant I'd have had to serve for 5 years instead of a little over 2. I was in for 2 years and 9 months, as it turned out. Well, when I got out, I went back to college because I'd gone 6 months. I went back to college for 2 years, and then my father approached me in 1972 to come to work for his company, and I did, and 10 years later I bought the company from him, and that's how I got my start in the business that I'm in today. So between the time that I worked for him and the time that I've owned the company, and in total I've been there about 40 years. So went to work for the company in 1972. The company started in March of 1972, and then my dad asked me to come to work for him, and I did in August of 1972.
All right. What was a normal day at war?
mean in Vietnam?
Yes.
Well, we'd get up pretty early in the morning, about 6 o'clock. We'd eat some breakfast and be out on the flight line doing our jobs, working on the helicopters, usually by 7 o'clock in the morning. And then we would get off of work. Sometimes we'd go until about 6 at night. We'd eat some dinner, take a shower, which was usually cold, because we didn't have hot water heaters over there. The water was heated. It sat in a big tank above a small building where the showers were, and the heat of the day, the sun, if you were one of the first ones to get in there, then you'd get a warm shower, and if you were one of the later ones to get in there, you got a cold shower, and that wasn't too much fun.